प्रत्यगात्मरूपम् हयग्रीवायितं नमः। The ahankara, or in other words, one of the components of the antakarana, internal organ, which is also referred to as the ego, the limited individual or individuality, focuses on one point. The one point of the focus is the experiencer function. The function of the ego, which is also to experience things. According to Sri Swami Chinmayananda, the perceiver, feeler, thinker, that faculty is called as the ego, TFT. The one point focus is on the experiencer, and this experiencer is programmed to seek pleasure and survival through gain. To seek pleasure and survival through gain. So that is why this experiencer in all of us is always in pursuit of the pleasure, seeking pleasure, searching for pleasure, and also seeking the gain, because this ego thinks that to gain alone is to survive. Survival is possible only through gain. So it always has to gain something. That is why how much ever this ego gains, still that craving to gain more continues. There is no end to this satisfaction. There is no end to the craving mentality, and it will never reach satisfaction. It will never say it is enough. Because it is focused on pleasure, it is always moving out into the objects, running after them, and we have to gain something always. So that is how we survive. Whatever we have is not enough. We need to have more. So pleasure is outside, gain is from outside, survival is possible only in this manner. So it designs so many ways of gaining pleasure, of seeking gain for its own survival, because it is convinced in these ideas. This is how survival is possible, and pleasure is available outside. So it's constantly in that pursuit. And this ego views happiness as something one acquires and then possesses and incorporates. Incorporate in the meaning that to include something so that it forms a part of something. Happiness is acquired. Happiness can be possessed. So by including something, it becomes a part of something. So by incorporating, we can gain this happiness. It can be incorporated. This is the idea which is in the mind. So it can be acquired. So it goes on acquiring things. Why? Because through acquisition of things, happiness can be acquired. Through acquisition of more, whatever we want more, happiness can be acquired. So there is so much of vast world outside. So I want to acquire this, acquire that, acquire something else. Keep on acquiring, keep on acquiring. Everybody busy is in the pursuit of acquiring, acquisition of things. Why? That is how happiness I can gain. Happiness can be acquired. And after acquiring, what we are doing? Are we sharing? No. Possess. Because happiness can be possessed. That is how the mind keeps on working. The mind is programmed. The ego is into this program to get. Everyone is in the process of getting things. whether it is a person or a place or a thing or an article, whatever it is, I want to get this, I want to get that, I want to get that. Everybody wants to get something from the other, or always wanting to get something from somewhere. So the function, the primary or the main function of this experiencer, because of these ideas, because of this conditioning, is to get pleasure and possess it. Always get pleasure, possess it. Get pleasure, possess it. So there is no question of any thought about the Atma, Antaratma, Pratyagatma. Why all this? There is no use in thinking about these things. Because if you keep thinking about these things, how can you acquire? How can you possess? So, in the pursuit of acquisition and possessing, where is the time to think about these things? But because of some Purva Punya, or some blessings of some great master, or because of God's will, or it is own leela. When this ego slowly, somehow because of some teaching, some satsang, becomes spiritually oriented, then slowly it starts learning and understanding the fact that the source of the pleasure is not outside, the source of the pleasure is inside. When the source of the pleasure is inside, is there any need to acquire it? Is there any need to possess it? Is there any need to get it from somewhere? Ask from somebody? The source of that pleasure is inside, not a portion of the pleasure. Not a pleasure connected with one thing. The source of all pleasure is inside. This can be discovered only with the spiritual knowledge and understanding. When this ego discovers that the source of the ongoing pleasure is within, one great thing happens. The great thing that happens to this individual is, to this individuality is real freedom, meaning true independence from the world. When the source of the pleasure is inside, I am no more dependent upon the world. I am no more dependent upon anything or anybody. Because I have the feeling of dependency, I compromise with values, I have a crooked mentality, I present myself as one thing outside, I do all negative things inside, dual personality, cheating, deceiving, lying, bluffing. All these people do. Why? Because the source of the pleasure is outside and there is dependency. I am terribly dependent upon so many things for my pleasure, for my survival. Because gain, survival means to gain. If you don't gain, then there is no survival. So I have to depend. So this dependency makes individual go into other tracks. But because of the spiritual knowledge and understanding, if the individual understands that the source of the pleasure is inside, that dependency disappears. Not that one becomes arrogant. Of course, with little spiritual knowledge, there are many people who become arrogant and very proud and egoistic. But here, because of this understanding that the source of the pleasure is inside, the dependency disappears. I am no more dependent because I know it is inside. There is independence from the world. Only the people who experience this independence from the world can truly be trusted upon. We can depend only upon such people because they are not depending upon the world. They are independent of the world. They have gained independence from the world. So there is no need for them to compromise with the values. They neither gain anything nor lose anything. So they are above all these compulsions, compromises, evil-mindedness, negativities. They alone can be trusted. Who can be trusted? The one who is independent from the world. So, as a spiritual aspirant, I need to gain spiritual knowledge to such an extent that I become independent from the world. This is real independence. Otherwise, political independence, financial independence, so many other types of independence are there. They might be great and good, but this is the ultimate independence, without which we will still remain a slave, remain independent. With the relinquishment of dependence on the experiencer for pleasure and happiness, one truly discovers that the source of the happiness is one's own existence. Earlier, it is inside. Now, because of the advanced practice in spiritual pursuit, then one discovers that one's own existence is the source of happiness. If I am existing, this existence is the source of happiness. And the realization of the inner self is happiness itself. It is not inner self will gain happiness. Inner self will experience happiness. The realization of inner self is itself happiness. There is not that we gain inner self and that inner self will again wait for gaining happiness. It is not like that. Realization of inner self is itself happiness. That is why one's own existence is happiness. What else one has to do if my existence is happiness? Just exist the way in which you are. That is all it is. If I don't exist in the way in which I am, then I am deviating from that. Then I am running away from it. The moment I move away from it, then I am not having happiness. Because I forget that my existence is happiness. I move out of myself. Then where can I go? I go into the world. Then what will happen? I depend. Then what else will happen? And then I will get into so many other things. Whether it is Dasa Shloki or Siddhanta Bindu of Madhusudana Saraswati or Siddhanta Sindhu of Ramaraya Kavi, all of them are oriented towards only one thing. How to make us understand that the source of pleasure and happiness is inside, and thereafterwards take us more deeper inside and make us gain the real understanding that our existence is itself the source of happiness and pleasure, and realizing that itself is happiness. That is why the goal of these scriptures is different. The scripture, this spiritual text is different. Then what happens? We will cease identifying the experiencer as the reality of oneself. Till then we will think this ego, this perceiver, feeler, thinker, this gainer of experience, this experiencer is the reality of myself. I am the experiencer. I am the doer. I am the enjoyer. I am the experiencer. I am the performer. I am the achiever. This is how everybody considers oneself. Till then I think like this. But it is only then I understand that is not the reality of my existence, or it is not the reality of oneself. The day when I understand, the moment when I understand, I start shifting myself from the dual content to the non-dual context. From the dualistic appearances, transitory appearances in the world, to the non-dual substratum and support. From the dualistic appearance to the non-dualistic essence of the presence, I start moving away. I move from ego to the self. In that journey, I will understand slowly that all these days I was mistakenly thinking of myself to be the ego, my reality to be the ego, my identity to be the ego. And slowly I will understand that this is not so, this is not real. It is because of adhyasa, it is because of superimposition, it is because of ajnana, because of ignorance, I had been thinking like that. So gaining spiritual knowledge is very important. Little girl, Shreya, went to the school after they reopened the school, after holidays. After the school reopened, little girl went to the school. And when the little girl came back, her father asked her, "How did you like the school?" She said, "Dad, I always like a school closed." Because I can have a lot of fun. I want it to be closed. Because there is no stress, there is no pressure, there is no strain, there is no burden, there is no compulsion, there is no one to report to. At home, whatever you do, that is freedom, no dependency, no compulsion, no bondage, no pressure, no getting up early and running, and no answerability. Actually, individuals don't want all these things. But all this one can experience only in oneself. Because there alone lies true independence. One person was talking to his friend. You are not going to your office, your workplace since couple of days. Why? What is the reason? Had been observing you, you are not attending your duty, you are not attending your work since few days. Why? What is the reason? And that man said, "I had an argument with my boss. Unless my boss withdraws those words, I will not go back to the office. Unless my boss withdraws those words, I will not go back to the office. Go back to work." And his friend asked, "What are those words?" He said, "You are fired." You are fired means you are out of the job. You are kicked out of the job. Unless he withdraws, I will not go. He cannot go. So, unless with the help of spiritual knowledge, we tell the ego, you are fired. Unless we can never taste independence. But we can tell only when we gain the spiritual understanding. But with the spiritual practice, we can mold it, we can shape it, we can slowly tame it. Like when the wife was trying to deal with the pet dog, which was newly brought in, pet dog. The husband observed the wife and she was struggling to handle the pet dog and said, "You cannot tame that violent dog. The violent dog you cannot tame." The wife looked at him and said, "In the beginning days of our marriage, even you were like this. Now what happened? Same thing will happen to the dog. Wait." Meaning what? Even though initially in the beginning he or dog are violent, but after some time they know how to take. They will get taken. It all needs patience and practice. Same thing with the ego also. How much ever violent it may appear to be now, but with spiritual practice it can be taken. So yesterday we were trying to know about the Pratyagatma. Pratyagatma alone gets reflected in the Antahakarana and becomes Chidabhasa. This Chidabhasa alone is called as Jiva. And whatever changes happen in the mind, intellect, memory, ego, equipment, because this reflection is reflected in that equipment, those changes will influence this Chidabhasa, affect the Chidabhasa. And even when this Chidabhasa or Jiva is constantly getting influenced by, affected by the changes that happen in the internal organ, Pratyagatma is untouched by them, unaffected by them, uninfluenced by them. Nothing will happen splendor, its brightness, all around. Like that, the brightness, brilliance, luster and splendor of the Pratyagatma has enlivened the Antakarana, made active the Antakarana, then only it started functioning. And also we try to understand the example of a magnet and the needle, how the power in the magnet will move the needle and power in the magnet will get into the needle and start moving the needle. Similarly, the power in the Pratyagatma will get into the Antakarana and start moving the Antakarana. And this is the power which makes the Antakarana move in itself. Even the thoughts also, the same power moves the thoughts also. And it is this power alone which moves out of the body, along with the Antakarana. When the body is dead and the Jiva departs, this alone is called as the Jiva, this alone is called as the Chidabhasa, this alone is called as the power of Pratyagatma. And even in deep sleep, when mind is quiet and silent, unavailable, sense organs are unavailable, body also is not doing anything, sense objects are unavailable, nothing is there. Even at that time, in the deep sleep, there is the experience of happiness. And if Jiva is unavailable, there is in ignorance, in avidya, I don't know anything, that is the state of all of us in deep sleep. Then if Jiva himself is not available, then who else is, after waking up, saying that I slept happily and I don't know anything? Who else is there who can know about this? And that is Pratyagatma, the witness. The Pratyagatma is the witness of the deep sleep. That alone knows about the happy state of experience in the deep sleep. But the Jiva cannot know while experiencing because in the state of ignorance. But Pratyagatma is not under the ignorance. Pratyagatma knows it. That is why the moment he wakes up, the waking state, because it is the power of Pratyagatma alone is enlivening and making the mind and intellect and memory and ego function, the Jiva function, the Chidabhasa function. So that will get this recollection of the memory. Because it is Pratyagatma alone which is functioning as the Jiva. Only because of the dimension of the Antakarana, only because of the Upadhi, limiting adjunct of the Antakarana, it is called as Jiva. Otherwise, it is the power of Pratyagatma, reflection of Pratyagatma alone, according to a couple of people. That is why it knows that it experiences the happiness. Otherwise, Jiva is absent. Where is Jiva? So, what we have to understand is we should constantly keep this Pratyagatma in our thoughts. Because normal way of living, we have only thoughts and thoughts and thoughts. In our thoughts and in our feelings, we should be conscious of Pratyagatma. We should be aware of Pratyagatma. Mentally think about Pratyagatma. Initially. Thereafterwards, once Pratyagatma takes over everything, then there is a need to attempt to do anything afterwards. Even in the most confusing situations, conflicting situations, tension-filled situations, disturbing situations, we should understand one thing. Yes, I am affected, I am disturbed. This I am affected, I am disturbed, I am under the pressure, stress and strain is Jiva. But who is the one who is the source of this Jiva? Who is the one who makes this Jiva function like this? Made the Jiva what it is? That source is Pratyagatma. And that Pratyagatma is unaffected. Pratyagatma is uninfluenced. Pratyagatma does not have stress and strain and pressure and problem. Jiva has stress. As long as you want to think I am Jiva, we will suffer. The moment we understand we are Pratyagatma, reflection of Pratyagatma, I am the Jiva. The moment I think I am reflection of something, power of something, immediately my mind goes on to that something, the source. The more I know about the source, the more I become closer to the source and become closer to the ego, to Jiva hood. And then slowly, I come to understand the witnessing quality of the Pratyagatma. Vajas Sakshi, Prana Vruteja Sakshi, बुद्धे साक्षी बुद्धिवृत्तेश्च साक्षी चक्षुश्रोत्रादि इंद्रियाणां च साक्षी साक्षी नित्यः प्रत्यगेवाहमस्मि साक्षी नित्यः प्रत्यगेवाहमस्मि वाचः साक्षी प्राणवृत्तेश्च साक्षी बुद्धे साक्षी बुद्धिवृत्तेश्च साक्षी चक्षुश्रोत्रादि इंद्रियाणां च साक्षी चक्षुश्रोत्रादि इंद्रियाणां च साक्षी साक्षी नित्यः प्रत्यगेवाहमस्मि साक्षी नित्यः प्रत्यगेवाहमस्मि साक्षी नित्यः प्रत्यगेवाहमस्मि. This is how I have to think at every moment of my existence in this world. Sakshi Nityah Pratyagevahasmi. I am Sakshi Nitya, Nitya Sakshi. I am eternal witness. I am Pratyak Eva Aham Asmi. I am that innermost eternal Sakshi and nothing else. I am that innermost witness in consciousness. I am not the Jiva to get affected by the thoughts of the mind, ideas and conflicts of the intellect, and then the thought formations of the memory bank and the egoistic expressions and eruptions. I am not the one who is getting affected by these things. Who am I? Sakshi Nitya Pratyagevahasmi. Who am I? Sakshi Nitya Pratyagevahasmi. If this becomes the sadhana, if this becomes the contemplation, if this becomes the regular meditation, if this becomes the Maha Mantra for us, every time we come across so many disturbing things, that moment, anything can be taken away from us, anything can be snatched away from us, because in this world, this body also has been given to us, it will also be taken away one day, and anything else also will be taken away. So whatever goes away from us, or whatever comes into our life, which we don't want, whatever is happening in life, if we have this idea, Sakshi Nitya Pratyagevahasmi, not once upon a time Sakshi, not Sunday Monday Sakshi, not morning evening Sakshi, Sakshi Nitya Pratyagevahasmi, not waking world Sakshi, not only dream world Sakshi, even Sushupti Sakshi, Sakshi Nitya Pratyagevahasmi. It is not outside to get influenced from the outside. It is not outside to get influenced by the changes in the outside world, the ups and downs of the share market, the good and bad of the behaviors of the people. It is Sakshi Nitya Pratyagevahasmi. I am the eternal inner witness. When it is the eternal inner witness, it witnesses the mind, witnesses the body, witnesses the sense organs, witnesses the experiences, witnesses the state where we are running around things, witnesses the state in which we are not running around things, witnesses the intellect, witnesses the ego, witnesses everything. Sakshi Nitya Pratyagevahasmi. I am that. I am not the Jiva. I am not the mind. I am not the ego. I am not all these things. Sakshi Nitya Pratyagevahasmi. In Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha, Adi Shankaracharya says this. Vachas Sakshi, Pranavritte cha Sakshi, Buddhe Sakshi, Buddhivritte cha Sakshi, Chakshusrotradi Indriyanam cha Sakshi, Sakshi Nityah Pratyagevahasmi, Sakshi Nityah Pratyagevahasmi, Vachas Sakshi. I am talking and talking and talking so many things. Few things I know, consciously I talk, few things I unconsciously talk, in reaction I talk, in action I talk, in overaction I talk, in underaction I talk, in no action also I talk. I keep on talking, commenting, blaming, criticizing, condemning, accumulating more punya, doesn't matter. One mantra janam, Vachas Sakshi. I am the witness to the speech, meaning I am the witness to all other karmendriyas. I am the witness to witness to all of them. Vacha Sakshi, Pranavritte Sakshi, Buddha Sakshi, Buddhi Vritte Sakshi. Buddhi here means the entire internal organ, the Antakarana, Buddhi Manas Chitta Ahankara, all of them put together in one word as Buddhi. All the contents of mind, intellect, memory, ego, whatever they might be, how much ever greater value they might have in the world, how much ever lesser value they might have in the world, how much ever greater might be the impact of these things on my mind. I am the witness to all. I am the witness to mind, contents of the mind, intellect, contents of the intellect, ego, contents of the ego, chitta, contents of the chitta. Buddhi Sakshi, Buddhi Vritte Sakshi. I am the witness. Chakshushrotari Indriyanam cha Sakshi. The eyes, whatever I see with the eyes, I am the witness. Whatever I listen with the ears, I am the witness. Somebody praises you, you listen to it. Great. Instead of thinking like that, I am the witness. Then we will not become overjoyed. And next moment somebody will say, because that will happen. That is how the world is designed. And then next minute, then we go, then don't get bogged down and then don't get into depression. That time also we can say, what? Chakshushrotari Indriyanam cha Sakshi. That is all it is. Somebody came to criticize you, you smile at him and say, what? Chakshushrotari Indriyanam cha Sakshi. Sakshi Nitya Pratyageva Hamasmi. Afterwards, that fellow cannot do anything. That is all it is. Nothing will happen. Because this is our real nature. Jiva is not our real nature. We are not Jiva, actually we are Pratyagaatma. Jiva is only a reflection of it, or a power of it. That is all it is. I am the witness to what I see through the eyes, what I listen to the ears, and through all other sense organs. Whatever might be happening, I am the witness. That is how Sakshi Nitya. I am the eternal witness. The inner eternal. I am the witness, all witnessing real, conscious, blissful, pure Brahman. That is what is the ultimate meaning. I am the ever witnessing real, conscious, blissful Brahman. Because Pratyagaatma is not different Paramatma, Pratyagaatma and Paramatma are not different from Paramatma. Finished. Ultimately the essence is only pure Brahman. That is how it is equated with that. So this is possible when we are living in this world, while we are doing all the things, while the world is covering us, influencing us, attacking us, overpowering us, pressurizing us, dominating us, pressing us, compressing us. Then only we have to use this. It is only for such people. Sakshi Nitya Pratyageva Hamasmi. Try this. Even for mechanical, even for just for fun, we can try. Then we will come to understand. If we start this language in the mind, till then I am affected by this is Sakshi Nitya. I myself don't believe it, but still Sakshi Nitya. Somebody told okay, Sakshi Nitya. Benefit of doubt to that fellow. Sakshi Nitya. Shankaracharya will not love Sakshi Nitya. Why Madhusudana will should love Sakshi Nitya. Demon politicians should love continuously Sakshi Nitya. Then slowly you tell them, and suddenly a few moments will come where you really taste Sakshi for a few seconds. You will feel like, my God, is this real? Yes. God will give such experiences. They are like milestones. He will definitely give, but He will not give continuously because we have to achieve it. Otherwise, we will not hold on to it. He will give such glimpses, few moments, flashes, like flash of a lightning. It will give. Suddenly, hey, what happened? I am not touched by these things. But don't become too much lethargic at that time. Just think these are the gifts from God. And it happens. Start mechanically, it doesn't matter. It will happen. If we start utilizing this, then in the most disturbing moment we can bring it back to our mind. Suddenly we can bring it back. 4 people will be standing around us and using choicest galis in their own choicest manner. At that time we remember Sakshi Nitya Pratyageva Hamasmi. That is all we have to try. So then, in order to take us there, this is the effort. Rasa Shloki, Siddhanta Bindu, Siddhanta Sindhu. Now, we need to follow few points. Of course, these are little technical and little analytical and informative, but this is necessary to get into the first sloka. Why that sloka Adi Shankara has to say, why he used those words. Madhusudana Saraswati analyzes, Ramaraya Kavi also follows that analysis in his own way. So we will take up slowly, little by little, so please give little more attention, because this is more analytical, more subject, more informative, but this is necessary. So, in the point 10 of Siddhanta Bindu, it is said, the goal of life is not attained by mere knowledge of primary meanings of the terms that and thou. If we gain only primary meaning knowledge of the primary meaning, or vachyartha or abhidha or vachyartha of that and thou, tattvamasi, that thou art and that and thou, if we gain only that much, that is not the goal of life. The goal of life is not attained. Because of the imperceptibility of the creator and multiplicity of the jivas. When we say thou, there are so many jivas. And when we say that, we are not able to see that. So because of the imperceptibility of that and multiplicity of jivas, we will not be able to perceive. We will not be able to attain the goal of life. And then it is also said that primary sense of that and thou, it cannot be known by ordinary way of thinking. We have to get into a unique way of thinking by placing the Lakshya. And in the Siddhanta Bindu point number 11, it is said that by saying that also means consciousness, this also means consciousness, is there any repetition of the same message with two different words? But also is that no, it is not like that. And then there is a nice note that is given. One common sentence is taken. Cloth is blue. This is the common sentence. Cloth is blue. It is said here, this sentence, cloth is blue, is said to be a relational sentence because it brings about a relationship of substance and quality. Cloth, the quality is blueness. Cloth is blue, substance and quality. It brings about a relationship between substance and quality. But in the sentence, tattvamasi, that thou art, there is no relation. It is not the relationship like substance and quality. There is no such relationship. Because both these terms, in their innermost essence, in the implied meaning category, through that implied lakshartha process, both these terms, that and thou, both refer to the same partless pure consciousness. There is no part in it. It is partless pure consciousness. So when two words are referring to the partless pure consciousness, if they are referring to the part, the consciousness with parts, then that will bring about a relation. Partless pure consciousness. That is why it is called as a non-relational sentence. Cloth is blue is a relational sentence. Two different things, it brings about a relationship. Here there are no two things. Tattvamasi. Tat also is that only, Tvam also is that only. To Lakshya. So it is a non-relational sentence. Then in the Siddhanta Bindu number 12, point number 12, it is said, when the sentence is non-relational, what does it denote? Whenever the sentence is non-relational, it denotes unconditional entity. Come on, this is the point. When the sentence is relational, it denotes conditional entities. Entities which are divisible, entities which are fragmented, entities which are limited. Relational sentence. Non-relational sentence denotes unconditional entity. And then the mental impression created by the words in that sentence, which denotes unconditional entity. Please understand this. The mental impression created by the words in that sentence is also of unconditional entity. What beauty is that? That is why Mahavakya has to be contemplated, meditated upon. If you hold on to that Mahavakya, the mental impression created by those words which are connected to the non-relational sentence When the mind's impression in the mind is that of an unconditional entity, automatically mind is moving from condition to unconditioned. From limitation to beyond limitation. From division to indivisibility. From parichinna to aparichinna. From khanda to akhanda. That is how it is. It is moving. So that impression has to be created in the mind. And what creates that impression? Only those words which are non-relational, which are connected to a sentence which is non-relational, meaning unconditional entity. Unconditional entity is Brahman, pure consciousness. Otherwise we can have so many sentences in our mind. They don't take us there. They don't give us that impression. Any word we speak, fool, it gives same impression. Stupid, same impression. You are very noble, impression. Here, unconditional entity. So, that is why it is said, this Mahavakya is non-relational and that alone can bring about that knowledge which has got the capacity to destroy the nescience. Nescience meaning the ignorance. How can that ignorance be destroyed? By the knowledge. What can bring that knowledge? Only those words and those sentences which are non-relational. Only they can bring it. And they can take us to that unconditional entity where we are told that we are not different from it. And even then, there is some objection there, saying that, oh, you also talk so many things about Atma is this, Atma is that, and all. So many pointers are there. All these pointers are conditioned pointers. So if these conditioned pointers are there, then what are you talking about? If you are saying that your Atma is conditioned, and conditioned pointers are there, it will affect that Atma also. And it is said, because of the formation of the clouds, there are so many types of clouds, varieties of clouds, various categories of clouds are there. Because there is so much of arrangement of the clouds due to the play of the wind and also the texture and quality of different categories of clouds. Sometimes these clouds appear like Gandharva Nagaras. In the Vedanta, there is an example. Meaning what? In the various kinds of cities. They appear like that. So many different kinds of cities are there. And all these types of cities are appearing in the sky, in the clouds. But does any one of them influence the space? Can pollute the space? Can touch the space? Can condition the space? Nothing. Any number of Gandharva Nagaras can happen through the cloud formation. Because of that formation of the cloud, so many things can happen, but nothing will touch. Similarly, so many forms can appear in a mirror. When a big mirror is placed in front of so many objects, so many forms can appear in the mirror. Can all these forms touch the mirror? There can be fire outside and the mirror can reflect. Can it burn the mirror? There can be water and the mirror can reflect water. Can it wet the mirror? It cannot. Similarly, even when that unconditioned entity is referred to by certain words which look to be conditioned, they cannot influence that unconditioned entity. So, various things that are there, that Atma is this dharma, that dharma, all these are pointers. These pointers cannot condition that Atman. And then continuing further in the Siddhanta Bindu, and also a little bit of Siddhanta Sindhu, if it is said, it is true. Now, one of the objection is, okay, if Mahavakya itself can cause the cessation of ignorance, then what is the need for inquiry? Why Dasashloki? Why inquiry? Tell one Mahavakya fact and then it will remove ignorance. Then why this Dasashloki? Why all these 18 days? Why not one statement? All of us sit and say, together Tattva-masi, finish, close, go. Why not? If one Mahavakya can destroy, that is all the objection is raised by the Guru function. And then it is answered. It is true that Vedantic statements, being by themselves authoritative, can give rise to the direct realization of the unconditioned self. They can give direct realization of the unconditioned self. But because of the obstruction caused by the doubts arising from the contradictory views of various schools of philosophy, various schools of thought, the Vedantic statements are not able to destroy the ignorance of those whose minds have not attained the necessary maturity. Those minds which did not attain necessary maturity, they are influenced by the differences in different schools of thought. Very process to learn first sloka, we will come across various types of schools of thought, starting from Charvaka philosophy onwards. Each school peculiarly thinks that Atma is something. And there is another school which disproves this one. Like that, these schools one after another disprove each other finally. And then ending up with what remains to be disproved is Upanishads. We will see how that process goes. That's why I said it is a little subject, a little bit technical, but it is important. You have to arrive at that. So why this Dasashloki, why all this is undertaken? Because mature minds, one statement they will attain. Pure minds. But if not so mature, we have to try various things. That is why all this explanation is given to remove the doubts about various schools of thought, which are also making statements about you or Jiva means this, Jiva means that, Jiva means that, they are level. Now, the contradictory views about the meaning of the word thou are first taken up. Thou. Not that, but thou, tvam, are taken up. Even though the word that is ultimate, it deserves the ultimate respect, and it has got all the import of the scriptures, the entity denoted by the word thou deserves to be given more importance, because it is that entity that attains liberation. Who attains liberation? Thou shall attain liberation. Not that, it is already liberated. So thou is to be given more importance. So then in Siddhanta Sindhu, some points Ramarajaka says, Ajnanis have ahankara on the body. I am the body. So because of this ahankara of the body, Ajnanis say, I am fat, I am lean, I am white, I am of such a caste, I am of such a creed, I am of such a status, all these things. And then say, he is like that, he is old, he is young, he is alive, he is dead. All these things are connected with ahankara of the body. These statements they make. And all these show the identification of the word I with the body. I means body, he means body, she means body. That is what is the level of this knowledge here. So, because of all this, we have to find out first, who is this Jiva? Is it body? Is it something other than the body? Is it different from body? Our Abhimana is always on our body. Among the too many schools of philosophy, which is the best one? Which is the most beneficial to us? This has to be decided. Many schools of philosophy are there, which are talking about Atma means body, Atma means this, Atma means that. We will see very funny statements also they will make. And they will provide logic also. Because that is the freedom of speech given in India, especially to everybody. Anybody can talk anything, everything is welcome. We appreciate the intellectual, creative thinking, whether it is valid or not, it doesn't matter, we appreciate it. You are thinking, that is great. So for pundits and scholars, this analysis may not be required, but for the less endowed people, this is required. So that is why we will see through right thinking what all these things say. Now, Siddhanta Bindu, point number 17. Tatra dehakarena the Charvakas say that the meaning of the word thou, individual self, is only 4 elements. What are they? Air, fire, water, earth. Modified in the form of the body. They say air, water, Charvakas, they are thinking like that. And then he says, Chakshurani Pratyekam iti apare. In Charvakas, there is another group. Some other Charvakas hold that the I, etc., individually is the same. Somebody says, I is the Jiva. What can you do? You have to accept. You will listen because you respect their thinking. At least they are thinking now. So, I is the Jiva. Later on, Madhusudana Saraswati and so many others will provide logic how it is not Jiva. We will go into it later. Then, Militani iti anye. Others hold that it is all these organs together. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin together is Jiva. Somebody's thought is like that. And then, Mana iti eke. Some say that it is the mind. Mind is Jiva. क्या बोलना उसको mind is Jiva हो गया. Think every now and then it is passed up and down and disturbed and agitated Jiva. Prana iti anye. And some others say that it is the vital air. Prana is Jiva. I am busy with my Jiva. Prana. Kshanika vijnanam iti saugataha. Saugataha means Buddhistic idealists. They say it is momentary consciousness. Kshanika vijnanam, momentary consciousness is Jiva. It appears, it disappears. You are conscious of something, that is Jiva. Again, not conscious, not Jiva. Conscious, Jiva, not unconscious. Kshanika vijnanam. That is their philosophy. Shunya iti madhyamika. The madhyamika Buddhists hold the view that it is shunyam, all shunyam, all void is Jiva. That is why no Atma. Atma is nonsense. Atma is shunya. That is their philosophy. Respect. Every philosophy is respected, deserves respect. So that each one is little higher than the other, each higher one disproves the lower one. Dehendriyatirikta Deha Parimana Iti Digambara. Digambara means Jain. The Jains say that it is something different from the body and of the size of the body. Jiva is different from the body but it is the size of the body. Then Vaiseshikas, Nayayikas, Mimamsakas of the Prabhakara school say this. Karta, Bhokta, Jado, Vibhuriti, Vaiseshika, Tarkika, Prabhakara. The Vaiseshikas, Nayayikas and the Mimamsakas of the Prabhakara school hold that this is the agent. Agent, doer. Karta, Bhokta, doer, enjoyer. And insentient. Doer, enjoyer, but insentient. And all-pervading. Correct? Doer, enjoyer, insentient, and all-pervading. Good. Jado bodhatmaka. Iti bhatta. The Mimamsakas of the Bhatta school say that it is both sentient and insentient. According to them, the self is both subject and the object of every cognition. And being the subject, it is consciousness itself, and being the object, it is inert. They say it is conscious also, it is inert also. They hold that the self has an element of consciousness, which is the subject of cognition, and a substance element, which is the object of cognition, therefore insentient. Then, Bhokta eva. Kevala bodhatmaka. Iti sankhya. Patanjalayascha. According to the Sankhyas and the followers of Patanjali Yoga, the self is pure consciousness and only an enjoyer, but not a doer. The self is an enjoyer, it is pure consciousness, but not a karta, not a doer. Then, avidyaya kartruttvadibha paramarthataha these are various schools of philosophical thought on what is Jiva. Starting from elements, combination of elements, and via momentary consciousness and shunya, and so on and so forth, finally came to God's consciousness. This is from Siddhanta. Siddhanta Sindhu, Ramaraya, little more elaborately he goes. Please let us go through that also, make this journey also. Ramaraya Kavi says in Siddhanta Sindhu, even if there is no consciousness, as Charvakas say, there is no consciousness in the individual, and only because of the combination of bhutas, and this consciousness has appeared. Like they give an example also, Charvakas give a very intelligent example, because there are many people who take pan. In the pan, what are the important ingredients that are there? First one is betel leaf, second one is lime, and third one is that nut, Aracia nut. Three things. Leaf is green in color, lime is white in color, nut is brownish blackish in color. When they are combined and under pan dal ke chabaye, baad mein, do you think it will have green color and white color and brown color? What color will come? Red color. So their example is, if you combine indriyas, just as pan, ingredients of pan are combined, red color will come. Like that you combine certain indriyas, consciousness will come. Consciousness will arise. Charvaka philosophy. So, and this Chaitanya follows the body. Body is consciousness. Body is jiva. Chaitanya goes with the body, comes with the body. That is what they do. They don't even consider space as an element. Not having cover is itself space for them. That is how the Charvakas. And next, indriyas are jivas. Many indriyas are jivas. There are so many indriyas now in the body. Many jivas in one body. Philosophy. Many indriyas in one body, so many. Eye is a jiva, ear is a jiva, and then this Ramaraya Kavi says, eye is a jiva, ear is a jiva. There will be no coordination between too many jivas. Where is coordination? Then no coordination, no anubhava is possible. It will become anubhava viruddha, because seeing a pot, I see a pot, and touching a pot experience will not happen to the same jiva. Same jiva, because seer is one jiva, eye is one jiva, touch is another jiva. So seer jiva will only see, but touch we can't. It will never happen. But for us it is happening now. You can touch also, you can see also. That is why Ramaraya Kavi says, it is anubhava viruddha, it is against this experience. So this also need not be accepted. Then somebody said, collection of indriyas is jiva. Then all these indriyas have to recognize all five sense objects at the same time. Then now what happens? You concentrate on one. If you are listening to this, and you will not listen to something else. If you are seeing something outside, you will not listen here. That is how it is. Or if you are seeing cell phone, you don't know what is being taught. So like that, if you see one thing, other thing is not there. But here according to these people, all indriyas have to be there. So that also is not possible. And others say, mind is jiva. So when mind concentrates on one indriya, that becomes important and rest become apradhana. And when they say mind is atma, and that also is not enough, because mind goes on changing and changing and changing, and how can that be atma? And later on logic will be provided. Right now we just go through whatever is taken. Then some says pranas are jiva. And then if this means all other functions work should continue, it does not happen like that. Meaning somebody when they say mind is jiva and pranas are jiva, but actually pranas go away with the departed soul, and then afterwards, how can anything remain? So prana is jiva, prana alone works in deep sleep. Even when prana is working in deep sleep, other indriyas don't work, mind does not work, then because pranas are working, we should have experiences even in deep sleep with prana and jiva. So then it goes on to say, prana is the boss of mind and indriyas, and that is why prana is jiva. And if prana is jiva, then in deep sleep we should get all kinds of experiences. Prana functions, but it does not happen like that. Prana is inert, and hence Vijnanam is jiva. Somebody says prana is inert, and then they say Vijnanam is jiva. And then this Vijnanam is momentary. It is born, in another second it dies. And then Madhyamika Buddhists say, if Kshanika Vijnana is Jiva, then each day countless number of Jivas should take birth and countless number of Jivas are dying. Moreover, this Vijnana is not there in deep sleep, so there is only void. In deep sleep, they say there is only void. So void is Jiva, void is Shunya, void is real thing, and Shunya is existing in waking and deep sleep. So the whole world is Nitya. That is why they come to conclusion the whole world is Shunya. Nothing is there. One man was talking to his friend. He said to his friend, I have great interest in collecting antiques. I am a collector of antiques. Then the friend said, yeah, when I look at your wife, I understand. That is his way of telling. When our mind is always rooted in the past, the regrets of the past, the various things that happened in the past, it will not be able to relate itself properly in the present. So in the course of learning the Shastra, the attention has to be in the present teaching so that we can absorb that. And we also have to be alert and very vigilant of various things around us. Otherwise, anything can mislead. Like there was one wife who became very fat and very heavy. The doctors advised that if you continue like this, it will be a great problem for you and for others also afterwards. So better reduce the weight. And why do you gain so much of weight? Then they analyzed it with her and they discovered that it is between meals. She visits the refrigerator or the fridge very frequently, every now and then. So the doctor advised and she followed that. Inside the refrigerator, when she opens that door, she kept a slim, beautiful, young, very nicely shaped girl's photograph. So that whenever she opens, she looks at the girl, I should be like that, I should be like that, I should be like that. And she becomes like that. So in 1 month's time, she could shed away 5 kilos of her weight. By looking every time open the refrigerator, look at that nice, young, very, very nicely shaped girl, slim girl. But what happened is, in the due course of 1 month, her husband gained 10 kilos. Because for the sake of seeing that girl, he every time opened and he ate something. So, if we are not vigilant, what is good for one may not be good for us. It may mislead us. So, in the process, that is why even a single pointer, if such things can mislead us, what to say about these various kinds of systems of philosophy, which so convincingly say, and they will also definitely mislead. So, in order to live a very pious life, a very safe and secure, genuine life, we need to have the best of the philosophy. That is why this attempt by all these great masters. Otherwise, it is like it will be a confused living, very confused living. Then, continuing further, Digambara saying, if the world is asatyam, somebody said, world is shunyam. Aditya Buddha said, world is shunyam. There is nothing there. And then the Digambara Jain said, if the world is asatyam, like the horns of a rabbit, it should not be visible, but the world is visible now. So that means how can it be asatyam? It is available for direct perception, protection. So it cannot be said as shunya. So Jagat is not void, it is real, it is vastavam. Even in Pralaya, this Jagat remains in subtle form. Otherwise, if Jagat doesn't remain in subtle form, there will be kritahani, akritabhyakarahani, meaning action done gets spoiled, or experiencing result of action done will not happen. Such faults will happen, so it is not like that. So they go on with their philosophy. They say Jiva pervades the whole body and he is not a Anu, he is of this, they disprove the other philosophy saying, if he is of the size of an atom, then he cannot know what is happening in other limbs, so Jiva is the size of the body, whole body. And Vaisheshikas, Tarkikas, Prabhakaras say, if the Jiva is the size of the body, what will happen to that Jiva who ejects out of the human body? gets to the insect body. So we don't agree that Jiva is right of the body, but that also is not possible. So then there is the Jiva is a Satyavati. Like that it goes on. Then the Bhattas say, Atma is not inert. If he is so, then he has to be like a pot, inert, without any consciousness. Jiva is of the nature of consciousness, is a Chaitanya Rupa, meaning that inert one is Jnana Swarupa and as Jnana has this quality. And when the Sankhyanis say, what Bhatta says is not correct, because Ajnanam and Jnanam are opposites to each other, they both can't remain in the same Jiva. And the same Jiva is Jnana Swarupa only, but he is the enjoyer of his karma, and if there is no Bhokta, there is no Bhogam, the karmas become useless, so he is a Bhokta also. Like that it continues. And continuing further, finally, Ramaraja also comes to the last analysis. Vedantins say that Jiva is due to avidya and due to Maya, and impure intellect, he thinks himself as a doer and enjoyer and functions accordingly. Always the Jiva thinks I am the doer, I am the karta, I am the bhokta. Hence he becomes the bhokta of yajna yagadi karmas. He is also doing so many karmas and experiencing the results of those karmas. But the Jiva is without all these qualities and properties. Actually through Lakshadhara we see Jiva is Paramananda Jnana Swarupa, Jiva is Satchidananda Rupa, and he is of the form of existence, knowledge and bliss. These are various kinds of pointers. Once the lady went to a garment shop and she was trying to search for a nice t-shirt for her husband. So the shopkeeper was there, the agents were there, the shop assistant tried to help her. She said, I want this beautiful t-shirt, but I don't remember what is that size. And that shop assistant immediately said, large size, madam. She said, how do you know that? He said, all those husbands who let their wives buy their t-shirts are of the same size. Large size. This is analysis. What can we say? So sorry, everybody has their own. They said, madam, it is based on my experience of 20 years. You can't say no. So sometimes some pointers come like that. And once in an interview, one employer asked the new candidate who was applying for the job, for this particular job, we want a responsible man. A responsible man. Are you so? And that man says, yes sir, that is me. Wherever I worked, if anything went wrong, they said I am responsible. That is how I am responsible man, sir. So there is a responsibility. If it is not properly understood, then what will happen? He is talking about his problem creation only. So like that, we should be more responsible towards the philosophy which we practice, so that in comparison with others, we will try to find out whether it is the best of these philosophies or not. Otherwise, what happens? Our level of mind will not help us to absorb the real and genuine content. And somebody said, nowadays every modern employer is looking out for experienced people. Without giving an opportunity to a newcomer, they want experienced people. How it is? One statement is made. A modern employer is one who is looking for a candidate between 25 to 30 years with 40 years experience. Like that, the minds are there. So that is why our mind has to be well informed, so that the good information will keep the mind alert to all the systems of thinking. In one application, it seems, for a new driver's post, application form was given, he was filling the application, and one of the questions was, have you ever been arrested? And he said, no. And the next question was, why? He said, never been caught. He said, no, it ends there. But he's looked at, why never been caught? He is very sincere in answering. Like that, we can get caught because of so many things in so many ways. So the best advice is we need to be very alert to various schools of thought. Each school has its own level. At that particular level, that may be beneficial, but ultimately, the best of the philosophies, according to this analysis, we will try to know slowly, and then we will gain the understanding with the blessings of all the great masters. Om Vagishwaraya Vidmahe Hayagrivaya Dhimahi Tanno Hayagriva Prachodayat. Om Akshareshwaraya Vidmahe Mantrarajaya Dhimahi Tanno Hayagriva Prachodayat. Hayagriva, Hayagriva, Hayagriva. Om Hamsasoham Vishwadirna Swarupaya Chinmayananda Rupine Tubhyam Namo Hayagriva Vidyarajaya Vishnave Swaha. Hamsasoham Om Shrim Hlaum Om Namo Bhagavate Hayagrivaya Vishnave Mahyam Medha Prajna Prayacha Swaha. Hayagriva Mangalam Hayagriva Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Vidyaraja Mangalam Vidyaraja Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Hayavadana Mangalam Hayavadana Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Hayagriva